Welcome back. In the last video we made the F-hole and we plugged all the holes. And in this video we're gonna start off by covering up this cavity. We're also gonna take the edge and move it down a bit so we can put in a thicker piece of wood and cover it all up. But first off we're gonna move the control holes to this side so it becomes a left-handed guitar basically. And we're also putting the jack on this side because I don't want it on the side like this. I want it on the top of the guitar because as you probably know, that's how an SG guitar is supposed to look. So I take the measurements I did earlier and I just transfer them over to this side. So I have a line that tells me where the edge is. And I only do this because I want it to look as close to an SG is supposed to look as I can possibly make it. I'm not going to be able to get it 100% because an SG isn't perfectly symmetrical, so it's never going to be exactly like an SG, but it's going to be close enough. So I'm drawing some lines where I think the controls should go, and I try to make some calculated measurements on how I think it should, what I think looks right to me for the control holes, the switch, and also the output jack. And you see me make these dots so I know where I should drill. And you can see later on that I redo this a couple of times to make it to be sure that I am really drilling the holes where I want them to be, basically. So I'm just there's a better picture of what I'm trying to achieve, and it looks maybe a little bit off to you people who are really familiar with SGs, but I can't really get the controls to be perfectly where they're supposed to be. And here you can see a more cleaned up version where I've really worked on it for a while to try and get everything exactly where I want it to be. And now I'm just doing the same thing as in last video. I'm poking a little hole so I know, so the drill isn't moving or anything when I drill. And it's just a safety precaution. It's not this overly bearing thing, but if any one of you are gonna do it, do poke the hole first. And that's the drill bit, and I'm using a 6mm in my drill press, and just so I can enlarge them later to whatever dimension I want. It's always best to drill safety pilot holes first to be safe. And I'm just drilling these holes straight through the entire guitar body, and not being overly concerned with how it looks on the other side, because I'm going to create a new cavity for all the control parts. So even if it's a little bit tear out or blow out on the other side, it really doesn't matter at this stage because I'm going to be routing out everything on the backside anyway. So you can see here I'm using the laser on my drill just to be sure that I'm really getting it precisely where I want it. And again, it's just a question of where I want them. You can do however you want to your guitar. And here I'm putting the plate, the guitar over, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, well, where can I put this so it covers those holes that I drilled? And that is just the easiest way to do it. It's really not scientific way of doing it. It's just how I find it very easy to do it. And you later I realized I had it backwards, so you'll see that I redraw all of this and put it right. But here I'm just trying to create a lip, and I look at the other lip and I transferred that line. So I just take the mark and I move it over a bit, and I drew a new line, so I know the two different routings I have to do. make sure that I don't create a too big cavity for the plate, so it actually can be drilled out. Yeah, and here you can see that I've clearly moved everything over, and I've also measured out so I have space for the screws, so they don't so they have somewhere to sit. And then I'm just taking a good chunk of wood out, because that makes it easier on the router later. And you don't have to do it, but if you want to save your routing bits and not to make sure that they live long enough, since they're so expensive, this is a good thing to do. But then again, you don't have to. It's not like. And here's the cavity, and where you can see the black paint in the cavity, that's where I've painted the depth that I want to go to. So when I know that the router is taking away that paint, I know that I'm at the bottom of the cavity. And now I'm just cleaning it up, and I'm going really slowly. This is of course sped up because it takes too long otherwise. So I'm just doing it really slowly, and carefully. But it looks like I'm crazy because it's sped up. But yeah, and I'm just cleaning it up, and I'm being really careful. And now I'm moving on to the other side, and what I'm doing is that I'm taking a black acrylic paint, and I'm painting the inside of the cavity, because it's not something I really need to do, but it's just if someone looks inside the F-hole, I want it to be black and not this weird red color. And it's just cosmetic. It doesn't mean anything at all. So if you don't want to do it, you don't have to. And now I've taken a measurement of the piece of wood I'm gonna inlay, and I'm just setting the depth of the cutter to the same depth, so that I route out a lip that is big enough for that piece of wood. And you'll see really soon when I take another shot here that what I mean. And it's basically just because I feel like having a millimeter thick piece of wood on the back is a bit too little, and I want something a little bit more. And there you can see the depth of that I'm creating, and it's not something you have to do, but I would recommend you do it because you need more. And here you can see I'm putting some tape over the hole, and it's because later when I go to paint this guitar, I don't want the whole cavity to fill up with paint. So I'm putting the paint in now, and then I can later, when I'm done with the entire guitar, I can just remove this and pull it out through the F-hole from the other side. So it's just something I do so I don't get paint in there. Obviously waiting for the black paint to dry, so it doesn't come with the paint, with the tape when I pull it out. And here is the piece of wood that I'm going to inlay. So I'm just rough cutting it on the bandsaw, going as close to the black line but not going past it, just to make sure that it's just easier, basically, if you first cut it with the bandsaw, and then you can and go really slow if you're uncomfortable with the bandsaw. You don't have to, like, this is sped up, I should probably say, just so you don't think I'm totally crazy. Always be safe with tools and never do something totally out of whack. And here I'm sanding it and just creeping up on that line and making sure I can get a perfect fit. The better fit I get, the less I will have to like fill in the gap later. I still have to fill up the gap later, but it's still like the more I put in now, the more work I put in now, the less I'm gonna have to fill later. And here I'm just putting in some wood glue, and then I'm also putting the new plate I've made in, and I'm just tapping it in, not at all hitting hard at all. I'm just And then of course I put a bunch of clamps on it, trying to even out the pressure because I don't want it to stick up anywhere. And that's basically it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you like it.